Welcome to a special edition of Seen and Solved, our 2024 year in review. We'll be highlighting this year's guest, showcasing insightful conversations and innovative approaches that help shape the metal finishing industry and the cleaning industry. So let's get started.
You're listening to the Seen and Solved podcast, brought to you by Hubbard-Hall. Better results, less chemistry.
We begin with Mike Valenti and Jeff Beard as they explored groundbreaking aqueous cleaning technology with Jayco's rotary basket washers.
So when customers or prospects call me and tell me what's going to happen to solvents in 5 years, my answer is I don't know. What we do know is the EPA has made it clear whatever the replacement is so let's just say that modified alcohols becomes the global standard for replacing TCE and vacuum degreasing. Okay. Once enough people start using that and the volumes are significant, they're going to start looking hard at that. That's their job, is to look at what are people using and what are the risks associated. They're always going to be doing a risk assessment on whatever people are using, whatever the highest volume product is.
Next, Larry Inslee introduced us to MetalGuard 900, a versatile rust preventative that's not only highly effective, but also environmentally friendly.
We were approached by a large, heavy equipment construction vehicle manufacturer. They have parts manufactured overseas in Asia, and once the parts are forged and assembled, they ship them from Asia to the U.S. The problem being their previous method was to apply a thick, very heavy grease-like material and wrap that in plastic to try to keep the part from.
I can already see where this is going with that.
So number one, we have a lot of extra work to apply this material and excessive work to remove the material. MetalGuard 900 was applied to an identical part right beside it, rolled on with a paint roller, put on the ship. It was at sea for 62 days before it was removed. When it arrived, we had zero rust on our part. Our competitor's part was completely rusted.
Jeremy Morgan took us through a journey of the power of biologics and a fascinating 3-part series on the transformative role of biological systems in wastewater treatment.
So rather than conventionally removing pollutants or heavy metals or that kind of thing out of a waste stream using chemistry or physical separation means, we're basically using bacteria to break down those compounds and help remove them from the waste stream. The bacteria basically grows in a mass, whether it's in a tank or on a surface, and the waste stream makes contact with the bacteria, and they basically degrade those substances, whether it's BOD, COD, or nutrients like nitrogen or phosphorus, and basically break those compounds down and remove them from the waste stream.
Connor Calais shared a story of AquaEase PL918, a hero product that proved to be a lifesaver for customers grappling with stubborn lubricants.
So this is a hero product. Tell us about a time when one of your customers was able to use this, maybe to help them get through a difficulty they were having with some of their project they were using.
So we worked with an applicator that they basically manufacture different types of brazed tubes for different hydraulic applications. So they had a change in their supply where they switched the lubricants that they were using to a stearate-based lubricant, and the cleaners that they were using were not really going after it. I mean, they were trying higher concentrations, higher temperatures, and they still weren't able to fully remove it, which was then impacting their subsequent application where they were going into a phosphating application. So we looked at it and we kind of identified where the problem areas were. And so we ended up implementing this cleaner into their line, and they were able to, with high heat and concentration, fully kind of remove all that lubricant from the surface of the part.
Switching gears to wastewater management, Robin Deal offered practical advice on optimizing systems and avoiding costly mistakes.
I feel like we get a lot of good questions from our users, a lot of interaction. I hear a lot of positive feedback when I'm out in the field for people who have joined the group. So word is spreading, and I think that it's an awesome way for wastewater operators to connect and discuss issues and troubleshooting their systems with other people who are actually in the field doing what they do every day.
I think that's why this group is going to kind of do well going forward is that you can come there and talk to other people, hear what other users like themselves talk about. It is a closed group. We don't allow people to come in that aren't already signed up. We just want to keep it safe and secure for everybody, and we can talk about anything there. So
Connor Calais returned to spotlight Metal Guard 560, a marvel in corrosion protection for black oxide surfaces.
tell us about a customer of yours that you kind of introduced this to, and they're using, and it's really doing a better job than what they had been doing.
So we were working with a black oxide applicator, and they had some parts that had a really interesting geometry where there were a lot of recess, crevices, and basically places where moisture that would otherwise remain on the surface of the part wasn't able to fully come off of the part, basically. So they were having issues with a lot of recessed areas developing corrosion and rust over time, especially because a lot of these parts would have to sit in the shop or at their customer for several months before them being used. And we were able to utilize the Metal Guard 560 and an application where they would immerse the parts in there for about 2-3 minutes. It would allow time for the product to penetrate into the pores of the part and into those recessed cavities, displace any of the water and residual chemistry that may be still on the surface of the part, let them dry, and then they were able to really increase a lot of their protection and kind of get away from having any of these rejects or failures, eliminating all of their corrosion issues.
Jason Potts and Tom Salvino joined us next, sharing stories from the field about the complexities of electroless nickel plating.
Let's talk about some of the common errors, operator errors that happen. These are mistakes that people are making when they're running their line. What are some that you've seen, and maybe what are some fixes for those?
I was going to say the most common one comes right to mind is the hose over the side, and we get a phone call. Somebody left the hose in there last night and didn't tell us, and then we have this problem. We found out that they left the hose in there, and then you have to go back and re-engineer. How are we going to save this bath? Let's see where the numbers are.
One of the things I would say I see a lot of is just the general nickel titration. Everybody sees colors different, so if you don't run a controller, you're doing a simple nickel titration, and one person may see it as, a purple, maybe a light blue or a violet. Some people may not see the color at all. So therefore, what happens then is your additions or your calculation is wrong on the amount of nickel and hypo you have to add back. And then you run that bath all day. And if you're low all day, you're going to end up low at the end of the day. Or if you're high, you could overstabilize.
Stepping into paint removal, Connor Calais introduced us to AquaStrip 1200, a powerful product capable of stripping multiple types of coating with unparalleled efficiency.
So AquaStrip 1200 is unique in that it's a biphasic solution once it's been used, basically meaning there is two components that kind of work in tandem in order to achieve the paint stripping results that we're going after. We have a aqueous caustic package, which really helps to break down the chemical integrity of the paint surface. Does this by basically cleaving the bonds that kind of hold those paint particles together. And then there's the organic package, which helps with the swelling and delamination of the paint physically in and of itself. So those two kind of work in conjunction and are able to really go after a wide range of different paints. It's primarily kind of reserved for those ferrous materials, given that it does have a really high pH. But when using the right application, it can really go after a wide variety of different paints and able to remove them rather effectively.
Mike Valenti explored the shift to aluminum packaging, outlining innovative acid-based cleaning chemistries designed to overcome the challenges of microplastic solutions.
So these packages are made through a process called impact extrusion, and it goes through a high-speed process and it's turned into one of these cans. So this can, this nice aluminum can, is what eventually becomes one of these packages. And there are many, many steps between this part and getting to this end result. So there's a couple of really critical things about these parts. Number one is the cleanliness of the can and the adhesion properties of the aluminum. So why is that important? So when you make an aluminum package, every package, whether it's got shaving cream, suntan oil, Coca-Cola, whatever's in there, there's a specialized lining depending on that product on the inside of this can. And that lining protects the product and it protects the package. And making sure that lining is adhered properly is critical. Okay. So the cleanliness of these cans on the inside and outside, where all the graphics are, is critical. The other thing is there's also not just cleaning, but there's surface treatment going on at the same time of these cans where you actually put a mild micro etch on the surface. And this all has to be done at one time. The lubricant has to be cleaned, and we have to put a micro etch on the surface. And the micro etch is so you get adhesion of that liner, and the graphics on the top. Okay. And just to give you an idea of scale, like one facility that makes these type of cans will make, over 1 million of these in a 24-hour period.
Mike Valeni returned with his expertise on Hubbard-Hall's AquaEase PL72A32, a versatile aqueous cleaner that simplifies cleaning processes for aluminum and non-ferrous metals.
Tell us about an example where you got a call, somebody's having a problem. You brought this in. Did it work right off the bat? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we have an anodizer customer. He's in Pennsylvania. He was having some type of issue, cleaning issue, and a lot of the standard old school formulas for non-etch cleaners, and we have a product similar, are these old borax based cleaners. The problems is the tanks tend to get contaminated pretty heavily. The borate salts tend to fall out of solution. They can cause issues on the surface part. I said, you know what? You need to put a non-borax based cleaner in, and this will eliminate the problem. And we did, and the problem went away.
Focusing again on wastewater management, Rob and Deal outlined 5 key indicators that your system might need an upgrade, helping businesses future-proof their infrastructure.
I think one thing they realized was that their current system just wasn't really cutting it. They wanted to add a line, so they actually did the right thing, took a step back. Let's fix our infrastructure first, get our wastewater treatment system going, get it ready for today, tomorrow, and 10 years. That's exactly how they did it, and I know you preach that a lot, right?
They're expanding. They're adding a third plating line, and their wastewater system's 20 years old. Their clarifier can't handle the increase of solids that the third plating line is going to swing their way. They want to include things like remote monitoring capabilities with their PLCs. And so they literally built another extension to their plant to connect the new plating line to the wastewater system. And it's very exciting for me to walk in and see things like this, to see customers and our industry owning that they're growing.
Mark Miller brought us into the world of zirconium conversion coatings, highlighting their environmental and cost-saving benefits as alternatives to traditional phosphates.
This has been around for a while, but take us back a little bit of kind of where this really started picking up steam. I know it had to do with a lot of environmental issues.
Yeah, zirconium's been around. Just really, I think it never really took foot until a lot of the new regulatory constraints came. A lot of our customers, as the constraints get tighter and tighter, everybody's looking for options. Really put zirconium on the map. It's environmentally friendlier than the other, options out there like iron phosphate and zinc phosphate. And the big reason for that is the phos acid in iron and zinc. Zirconium is free of that. So that's a big challenge, a big hurdle that you can just jump right over by making that conversion over to zirconium. So playing around with it, it really does have some performance advantages over its counterparts of iron and zinc phosphate as well.
Jeff Davis wrapped up season 2 with his insights into remanufacturing, a sustainable practice restoring end-of-life components to like-new quality and transforming industries like automotive and aerospace.
So right from the start, I think a remanufacturing company will get in thousands, truckloads of parts, for instance, all sorts of levels of breaking down or contaminated, or they look nothing like they did when they were new. The manufacturer has to determine what's the value of those parts. Is it worth remanufacturing? So it starts right out where they're trying to, like you said, strip all of the contaminants, whether it's paint stripping, coatings removal, powder coating removal, get it all the way down to the base metal, if you will. And once they go through and remanufacture everything, they then need to, like I said, preserve those parts for shelf life to be traveling all over the world. In the remanufacturer's eyes, they're just trying what they call core restoration. So if we call it cleaning and trying to, remove the oxides and contaminants, to them it's just get me the base metal, get me the raw part, and then I have something to start with. So it's a significant value for them to minimize the amount of work they have to do on the core.
Kicking off season 3, we spoke with Catherine Kiebelwitz, who shared her unique journey of leading digital transformation in the metal finishing industry.
I fully expect within the next 6 months to a year that the landscape of everything is going to be changing. The speed at which artificial intelligence is coming up and coming through is really going to change the way even just these shop floors are working. You're going to see more automation on shop floors. I think the large language models of artificial intelligence, so your Chat GPT or your Google Bard, all of those, they're going to change the way everyone is doing everything. You're going to see more robotics. You're going to see artificial intelligence happening with QC, preventative maintenance on equipment, analyzing the data that's coming through these things. And I think it's happening. It's happening very fast.
Jameson Grout stopped by to take us deeper into the intricacies of Wood's nickel strike processes with practical advice and real-world strategies.
Give me another one that you might be seeing that people should be made aware of when it comes to especially adhesion problems and things such as that.
So we come out, we're failing tape tests, but then say we look at the bath and the nickel's good and the acid's good. I think the next most common problem is metallic contamination. So it's kind of the point of the tank, right? Because we're trying to keep these contaminants out of the plating tank, but it means we're still building contaminants. So I would like to keep an eye on it. What we see probably most common is copper. And that's always the boogeyman of a plating process, right? Because copper, it wants to create immersion deposits so readily. You're in an acid environment. We see it on a lot of hardware, a lot of contacts, a lot of bars. So there's always copper in the environment. And this is where it's going to give you a problem. It's going to undercut that nickel, and it's going to give you a failure.
Jason Potts joined us again to break down the differences between low, mid, and high phosphorus paths when it comes to electroless nickel.
So let's talk about this. The advantages of using electroless nickel as opposed to electrolytic nickel. What are some of the advantages?
One of the biggest advantages, in my opinion, for electroless nickel, it's called the dog boning effect. People in the plating industry understand dog boning, but for those who don't, dog boning, if you look at a dog bone that goes like this and you've got the outer edges and it comes back. Right. On electroless, if you want to put a thousandths in the middle of that, you can put a thousandths in the middle, a thousandths on that edge, the edge of the dog bone, and it'll be a thousandths all the way around. With electrolytic, in theory, in order to hit a mil or a thousandths in that middle, you may have to be 1.5. It's a much easier process by doing electroless nickel as opposed to electrolytic for the dog boning effect.
Scott Pabst followed up with a thought-provoking conversation about how AI and advanced technologies are reshaping the metal finishing industry.
One of the trends that, just it's a business strategy of ours is really helping our customers use less chemistry.
Right.
The chemistry itself, effectively, let's say, cleaning a substrate, but as you clean off the soils, now these soils are introduced into the waste stream, and it's something that's being treated, handled, and it's a cost on the backside. So being able to, minimize that, extend the life of the chemistries and effectiveness, drives costs out of the business where, water historically had been looked at as an inexpensive cost. Now it is becoming much more significant and also a liability. So there's a lot of emphasis on, reuse and reduction of the chemistries that we are selling.
Next, Fernando Carmenholi introduced us to membrane filtration technology with AquaEase Infinity.
You guys just went out a while back and had some really good success with a customer. How did you use the AquaEase cleaners, and what was the effectiveness, and how did it work with that filtration system?
A customer that is using a liquid cleaner, they have different lines, all plating rack lines. Every 4 or 5 weeks, they dump all the tank. And we're talking about several lines that all the tanks are kind of combined. They should be changed every week because they reach a oil concentration in one level, and then the customer to not be even more expensive they hold the solution into a month. They work with this condition for years. We tried this technology, and the reality is as soon as we start to remove the oil and keep the oil, I would say below 1% on the cleaner, that was a game changer. So far, this customer is already 5 years without changing the solution. I mean, the same solution, it's only adding product as a maintenance. So no dumping anymore. They're running in a no dump stage for 5 years. So that's
incredible.
That's incredible.
Robin Deal returned to tackle one of the industry's toughest challenges, PFAS and wastewater, also known as forever chemicals. From what I read is correct, a lot of wastewater municipalities, this is going to be hundreds of millions of dollars for them, right, to implement something. Am I correct in that they're pushing back on this because they're saying that they may not have the capabilities right now to, and I guess to put the equipment in for the wastewater treatment facilities at the municipalities would be $200 million for a lot of these, right? Is it that expensive?
Yes, a lot of the smaller rural communities, it will bankrupt them. There's no way around it. It will bankrupt a lot of these communities. So how does that tie into manufacturing? When you have a manufacturing facility that contributes 25% or more to the municipality, and in a lot of cases, it's the largest hiring center for that community, there is no other option. The municipality has to push it back to the manufacturing.
Stuart Holloway shared a compelling success story from the plating line, saving time, money, and resources for the customer.
We're all sponges and knowledge is power. So I think a big takeaway from this was ask a lot of questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions and listen. And if you're not clear on something, ask another question, a clarifying question. Make sure that you've got the picture and have defined what the current state is and what their needs are and what they're expecting of you. And if you can't meet those expectations, then you got to negotiate, reach some common ground, and then I think you've got a good chance. I got all the confidence in the world in Hubbard-Hall and our technical team and our leadership and the ability to solve people's problems. I mean, we do it all the time.
Robert Gardner brought us international perspective, sharing a groundbreaking project, deploying AquaEase Infinity in South Asia.
So let's first talk about AquaEase Infinity. Tell us about it, what it all does, what benefits the end user gets out of using it.
The historic problem has always been that although you can extend the life of the cleaner, you also, on the older technologies, tend to pull out the surfactants in the cleaner as well. So you end up having an extra on cost, and the advantage is no longer as good as you originally perceived it to be. The AquaEase Infinity is what you call an ultrafiltration unit, which filters the cleaner, and it mainly removes the oil and other spent products or materials inside the cleaner without actually removing the surfactant package. And it's a great technology. It's a proven technology, and it typically saves a cost of between 30 and 35% running cost in 1 year.
Lastly, we celebrated a milestone with Molly Kellogg, President and CEO of Hubbard-Hall, as she reflected on Hubbard-Hall's 175 years of innovation and legacy.
So what are some newer initiatives or projects that you all are working on and you want to see your team work on even more?
We have invested in our technical team over the last 10 years, and I think we've got the strongest team we've ever had, and are always looking for the next great technical asset, because that's what our customers need. They need somebody who can help them tank side or be on the other end of a phone call and solve their problem. So that's how we add value to our customers. And what they're thinking about, what I'm thinking about, what are the initiatives, is this crazy idea that I have that we want to be a chemical company that helps our customers use less chemistry. And some people think that's a gimmick, but I'm serious about it. I recognize that manufacturers don't want to use chemistry. They don't want to use the products that we sell, but they have to.
Thank you for joining us for this special year in review episode of Seen and Solved. This year, we brought a wealth of knowledge, innovation, and transformative ideas to the forefront. We encourage you to revisit full episodes and visit Hubbard-Hall.com to learn more. I'm your host, Tim Pennington, wishing you a very happy new year, and we'll be back in 2025 with more Seen and Solved.
Thanks for listening to Seen and Solved by Hubbard-Hall. For more episodes, visit Hubbard-Hall.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to like and subscribe, rate and review, and join us on social media. Produced by Awcast.